working on that myself.
I'm getting better.
Live right now. Everybody, we still waiting on Jay's, so give us a little minute, and we're gonna wait for Jay to get on. But I'm Andre Taylor. That's my son, and you guys know Mysonne and Rizza. And everybody have a proper introduction, allow them to talk about some of the things they're working on right now, and we'll get started with this conversation with the streets. Eugene, did you email Jay?
Well, certainly he just texted me back, said, okay.
Okay.
He's hopping on. Okay, so he's in attendees now. If you go over to the participants section on your screen, Dre, remember where you see all the names?
Hold on. Go to participants.
Yep, where you see all the names, you should see an attendees.
Attendees,
He just dropped off.
Oh, okay.
He was over there in attendees, so you're looking for him in attendees, and then you'll hit promote to panelist once he shows up back up.
All right. There he is.
Everybody's looking healthy and strong.
Amen.
That's a blessing.
Every day.
Okay. Now, how do I get out of this? Is he on there?
He's on, his videos live, and his
There he is.
Yeah, but I can't close that attendees things. I can't close it. For council. Okay. Close. My loved one.
Brother, King.
With it?
Yeah. What's happening with you?
How you doing, man?
Blessed.
Yeah. Yeah. I want everybody to give a short introduction about, what they're doing before we get into this conversation with the street, this real talk that our community really needs at this particular moment. And so I'll let you, well, my name is Andre Taylor. A lot of you probably know me over 2 decades ago from the movie American Pimp. They used to call me Gorgeous Dre on the streets. And a lot of people have not connected Andre Taylor to Gorgeous Dre because that's just the magnificent of the Most High and what he could do once he drags you out of something and appoints you to do something else. So I've been out the feds since 2001. And I just been working, During that time, I've been doing lectures at universities. I've been on some TV programs, Montel, TBN, been speaking at prisons, teaching at treatment centers, and just telling my redemptive story. And just a short story, long story short, in 2016, my little brother got killed by the Seattle Police Department. And that brought me back to Washington from LA. So I came back to Seattle, Washington, started my organization, which I call Not This Time. And like I said, I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but we were able to create history in the state of Washington. My organization led Washington State in becoming the first and only state with the police accountability law. We defeated law enforcement. We brought all people together and we were able to achieve great history in this country. A lot of what I do now is have something called Conversations with the Streets, where I bring Black leaders and professionals from all over the country to Seattle to have a conversation through leadership. And all of these brothers graced me by coming to, one of those conversations with the streets. And ultimately, I want to take it around the country. What I've talked to everybody that I've asked to come, I said that the narrative is Black unity, Black love, and the reclaiming of our youth. And this was not about ideology because the system have used ideology to separate us. and they've mastered that. So everybody keep your ideology at home, and let's just connect on something that I know we can agree on, which is Black unity, Black love, and the reclaiming of our youth. And there's not been one person that have denied coming and being a part of conversations with the streets. And so that's just a little bit. We'll get into a lot more later, but I am very happy and honored to have Mysonne, Rizza, and Jay to be able to speak to the community in this capacity, because they do it all over the country anyway. But I thought it'd be great for us to come together online and, dealing with situations in our own lane and communicating with you, because I come from the streets, and what I'm doing now to communicate to the streets that you ain't got to be what your past has said. You can be better than that. And I'm gonna give you a way in order to do that. And it starts with this. So whoever wants to go next, you can jump in, please. Mysonne, then Rizza, then Jay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mysonne. I am a self-proclaimed rapper slash activist. Much like Mr. Taylor, I was incarcerated. I did 7 years in prison, but for a crime that I didn't commit. But, we all know when you live in a certain lifestyle and you live in our communities which are marginalized, which are plagued with violence and crime, and you see as the only way out, the only vision of success you see is crime. The only vision of success you see is a drug dealer. The only vision of success you see is someone who's doing illegal activities. Then, unfortunately, that's the path that you follow. So, although I was incarcerated for a crime that I didn't commit, I had committed many crimes throughout my lifetime. And while I was incarcerated, I started to realize that only people that was coming in and frequenting these facilities were people that looked like me, that came from our communities, who have been taught lies. And we have been taught that the only way to get success was through negativity, was through crime, and that's because that's all we've seen. So once I started to realize that this was some type of scheme, pretty much, this was to keep us incarcerated and keep especially us young Black males inside of these cages where we weren't able to foster our brains and grow and mature into the geniuses and kings that we were meant to be. I took a personal, task, and I was tasked by a lot of the older brothers inside the facilities who took me under their wings, who had been victims of those things, who weren't coming home, brothers who were doing 25 to life for supposedly stealing $10 from a white woman's purse, with no gun or anything, just who had no form of charges or anything, brothers who had lost their lives for some of the silliest things, who were in jail for things they didn't do. So they charged me with coming home and trying to make sure that our young Black brothers didn't continue the cycle. So when I came home in 2006, I started my journey into enhancing the consciousness and understanding of the streets, because I understood that we all were kings. We just were utilizing the energy in the wrong direction. So when I came home from being an artist, I was signed. That's another thing I forgot to say, that I was signed to Def Jam in 1998 before I was incarcerated. I was signed to Def Jam, Violator Records, which was the CEO of it was Chris Lighty, God bless the dead. And I was scheduled to drop my debut album before I had been incarcerated. So I went to jail with a level of notoriety and came home with the same level of notoriety. And I wanted to utilize that notoriety to benefit these youth, because I understood that hip hop was the culture and it was the way that was guiding our youth. And a lot of people had used it for wrong. A lot of our artists and leaders had guided us in the wrong direction, and they continue to guide us in the wrong direction. There's nothing wrong with guiding me in the wrong direction when you don't know the right direction. When you start to know the right direction and you still misguided me, then it's you doing it for a purpose. So a lot of these artists were intentionally misguiding these youth for profit. And that was something that I was against. So I came home and I started my tirade on, going against that mind state, going against artists who did that, and started to, enhance the minds of our youth and show them a different path. And while I was doing that, the death of Trayvon Martin is what got me on the activism. Just seeing a young boy that could have been my son shot and killed by somebody who stalked him and he was supposedly, the aggressor. It really charged me to say that I had to do something. So at that point, I got very active in the activism space, and I combined my artistry with my activism, and that's why I came up with the term a raptivist. And since then, I've been very vigilant and active on the front lines of this work, working with the Justice League NYC, Gathering for Justice, Harry Belafonte's organization. I was actually instrumental in the 20th anniversary of the Million Man's March. I was one of the planners, along with Tamika Mallory, who we sat at the board with, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, who allowed us to sit there as the youth council, and continued on from there. And at this point, we're still doing the work. In this pandemic, the work still continues in unifying our people, as you said. And it's not uniformity, it's unity, because we don't all have to think the same way or do the same thing. We just need to have the same goal. So that's why I'm here.
Man, brothers, I'm just to hear my brothers, man, to hear what you're doing, to hear everything that we're doing. It just feels good. And, every time I see us all across the country, whenever I hear people, and just so people know, my name is Brother Rizza Islam. I'm just got caught up listening to my brothers, Andre Taylor, my brother Mysonne, to hear how we go through what we go through, and then change our circumstance into activism, change our circumstance into something that improves the lives of our people, man. That's why I do this. That's why I love it so much. But I've been doing this work from about the age of 11, born and raised in Compton, California, youngest of 10 children, siblings for the most part, was involved in different hoods, different gangs. Oldest sister was on crack cocaine for 16 years on Skid Row, downtown LA. My mother was raising us by herself for a number of years. And I was one of those children who, like I said, being from Compton, California, saw virtually everything, from the gang banging to the robbing to stealing, all that kind of stuff. I didn't get too deep into it because I had 9 siblings who were already doing things like that. So thankfully, I had examples right in front of me, and I kind of saw what would happen if I decided to go steal or rob. I saw what would happen at the end of that. If I decided to go gang bang, too heavy, I see what happened with that, et cetera, drugs, et cetera, et cetera. So, I had siblings who did their best to keep me out of it, though I got involved a little. It wasn't really until I was about 12 or 13 where I was at a program getting help on my homework because I didn't like school. I couldn't stand public school. I used to tell my mother that public school makes you stupid. As a black man, makes you stupid. I used to tell her all the time I'm not into it. So I was one of those bad children in class, and I started getting help on my homework, and then I also started helping others with their work as well at an after-school program called World Literacy Crusade. And that's where I started to see what helping my people felt like. Grown men who couldn't read or write, grown women who couldn't read or write, grown men who were either a Blood or a Crip, or if they were from a Mexican gang, they were there. Different people on drugs, alcohol, people who were on probation or just got out of prison, and now they're trying to get a job, but they have a felony, so they're working on this program, and they have to come through this program to get that felony charge off so that they can re-enter society, etc. So it gave me a thirst for wanting to help my people because I saw so many that were dealing with so many different things in one room. And I'm just looking at it, while people are saying, oh, the world is this and everything is fine on one end, I'm looking at the other side that people are not talking about. And so pretty much working in that area for years, I went from just working with people on literacy skills, writing, reading, and math, to later on, as I grew up, I said about 15, 16 years old, I started being involved in educating people regarding their human rights or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, drug education and drug rehabilitation, educating them on what these drugs are doing to our people, whether if it's crack cocaine or cocaine, whether if it is alcohol, cigarettes, just different abuses, crystal meth, because Believe it or not, a lot of our people were on crystal meth at that time, and some of our people still are. And so that's another area I was working in, as well as people coming out of group homes and the abuses in group homes, people who are in the area of mental health, and people who have received abuses due to the field of mental health, whether they're being overprescribed drugs, being given electroshock, because they're still practicing electroshock on pregnant women and children. You know, all these areas is what I've been involved in. It wasn't until later on, years after, is when I became involved in the anti, or should I say, pro-health movement and pro-freedom of choice movement regarding vaccines in particularly, where I started to expose vaccines, where Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was brought to me because he had gone to pretty much all the Black politicians and no one wanted to hear him out regarding how the MMR, measles, mumps, rubella vaccine is affecting Black boys at 236% more than Caucasian, giving Black boys autism far more than Caucasian. And that was admitted by the Caucasian white scientist by the name of Dr. William Thompson at the Center for Disease Control. So that pushed me into becoming more active and helping to change the laws that go towards giving parents freedom and the right to choose when it comes to their child, whether they want them to be vaccinated or not, adults as well. And the recent victory we had was over in New Jersey, where we were able to secure the rights of parents. So now parents in New Jersey still have that right. And we've been fighting all across this country with that, traveled the country to do many things. And I'm also, of course, a member of the Nation of Islam, an FOI, member of the Nation of Islam, follower of Minister Farrakhan, born in the nation. And yeah, man, just the work, gang intervention, you name it, just the work, man. That's all I care about. And I started jumping on social media, putting on social media what I do in real life. Same thing Brother Mysonne was doing, same thing Jay was doing, you know, Brother Andre was doing. We took what we do in real life, we just put it on social media to get more exposure and to really get more people involved, because believe it or not, man, it's the work really needs more people. We have far too much work to get done and not enough people to do it, but we always know that, you know, many are called, few are chosen, and we'll do our best with what we have. So I'm just honored to be on this call. Another conversation with the streets. It's my second one, my brother Andre, and always honored to work with my brothers, Jay Morrison and Mysonne General.
Appreciate that, King. I guess I'm up next. I'm actually so pumped up. I'm like screenshot and I'm posting on the Instagram right now. Like, this is a really important conversation we all need to hear. Like, our community, let me say this. And by the way, guys, Jay Morrison, I'm gonna get into credentials in a second. First and foremost, your brother, servant to our people. What I like about this group is that there's so many brothers that we all respect. I could rattle them off, right? But I will say, if I had to go to the trenches, if I had to go to war, if I had to go back to back, like, listen, Kings, it might be our last rundown. If I had to go back to back, and mind you, these brothers ain't brothers I grew up with. We don't come from the same high school, from the same areas of town, all that. But I could tell you, I got to intimately build with each one of these kings, King Rizza, King Mysonne, King Andre, Gorgeous Dre Taylor. And I mean, intimately build, kick it, chop it up, break bread, eat eye to eye, and really get to feel a vibe and spirit of each of these kings. And if I had to go to war, and me and Mike always talk about, like, yo, listen, back to back. And if we had to give it up and ride for our people, I would take these kings with me any day, all day, to go save the village. And so I'm just encouraged by that, because there's like this, I want to say, like, the art of the real man, right? Like this thing of like substance, this thing of like this cloth. We always have that cloth you cut from. The cloth is missing. The cloth been in hiding. The fabric is slim to none these days. And salute to the Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan with the NOI is done, because we see they breed some real men. But holistically, as a community, there was a group of men, regardless of our ideology or national or religion or gang set or business acumen or financial, whatever. There's a group of us that are truly just got it in our heart. We just, something about the way God wired us, the universe wired us, has us where, like, our people mean something to us. And riding for our people means something to us. And it means more. And I've seen how Mike went hard coming home from prison, calling out rappers, and not like even to be clout chasing, just to be like, yo, this shit is wrong. This shit is fundamentally wrong. To gas a young boy up to go do something you know you yourself wouldn't do. To get the Fed charge, you know you yourself don't want to have. And so like we see some fundamental, but it takes a real man to stand up, a real man to lead, a real man to go against the grain and what's trending, what's popular, and right to really set that off. So I salute all you kings. I salute King Dre for your vision and intentionality of organizing us, and for the work and historic work you did in Seattle, Washington, historic work you've done throughout the country. This is national. You made national history with that legislation. So shout out to you, riding for your brother and his legacy, transforming your life from the pimp game to the politics, and into purpose. Most importantly, shout out to your queen as well. But yeah, again, guys, Jay Morrison, CEO and founder of Morrison Group of Companies. Morrison Group of Companies is a conglomerate that is parent company to the historic Tulsa Real Estate Fund, the first Black-owned real estate crowdfund in the history of America. We just had what was our final capital raise. We extended it a few more days, but we just had an historic capital raise where we have collectively now, in under 2 years, have brought on approximately 13,000 partners, co-owners of our company, investors, but have ownership in our company, over 13,000 families or small businesses from over 22 countries, and have raised nearly $13 million. And so I'm excited to be a part of this conversation. I come from the streets. You know, my mom sold drugs, my step pop sold drugs, my real pop sold drugs, my grandfather sold drugs, my uncle sold drugs. That was the culture and nature of our family from Somerville, New Jersey, Southside Ave, 3rd and Center. I left the streets of Newark, New Jersey in 2005, but growing up, the streets was not like a far-fetched, it actually was like probably one of the most practical things for me to do. Drugs was just happening fluently in our neighborhood. When I was playing basketball, my probably 15 years old, so many customers, you know, we called them fiends back then. So many customers, so many people would come up to me and ask me, did I have any work? And I ain't never even touched work. Like I saw the work, but I ain't never touched work. But I remember being one of my homeboys, and we were just coming from the park with our basketballs in our hand. And I got stopped so many times, I could add up me making $300 easy in sales on my walk home from the park. And I'm like, damn, man, we trying to scramble together to get $2.95 for 3 cheese sticks from Pizza Hut. You know what I mean? Or 4 chicken wings and fried rice. So I could have made $300 just if I had the product. And so I hit the dope game at 15 years old and dropped out of high school at 16 years old. Went back to high school to an alternative program for the bad kids. I graduated. But 4 months after I graduated, you know, when I started in the game, I was just getting packs from other people. OGs would give me packs. They say, yo, here's a 100 pack, bring me back 60, you keep 40. So I was doing 60-40 splits, 70-30 splits. One of my cousins gassed me up for an 80-20 split. So I'm taking all the shorts as a young boy coming up. I'll make a little money. I'll play some CeeLo, roll some dice, lose it, and be back to hustling for somebody else. Until I started seeing that everybody from Jersey was going to New York to get their own work. And so I started going to Plainfield, New Jersey, and Newark, New Jersey, and getting wholesales while I would double my money. And then one day at 16, approaching 17, one of my guys in my town, I was like, yo, can you put me onto your connect, man? I'm trying to get a connect. He's like, man, you crazy. He's like, I tell you what, it's in Harlem though. And so at 16, man, I took a train from Somerville, New Jersey to Newark Penn Station, from Newark over to New York Penn Station. And then I hopped out of New York Penn Station and I asked a taxi driver to take me to Harlem, 137th Street. And he said, you know, that would be stupid. He was like, you know, it costs you too much in the cab. He said, just take the 1 and 9 train or the, you know, the A and B Express going up. This at 16. And I'm like, all right. So I got my little subway pass and I took the train up to Harlem, got off at 137th. This is in 97. And the streets was just flooded with cocaine dealers. It was like an open cocaine trade. And I found my first connect on that trip. And essentially put myself on and hustled for years, and then got introduced to other opportunities in the streets. And so by the time I was 17, I graduated high school that summer. I had a block in Jersey that I was pumping. I had a route to Maryland where I was selling ounces to Maryland of coke. And then I met my biological father for the second or third time in my life, and he was getting high. So my biological father lived in Lincoln, Nebraska my whole life. And that summer that I graduated high school, he came back to New Jersey. And so one of my customers called me and said, your dad looking for you. And I'm like, all right, cool, tell him to holler at me. And he looking for some work. I'm like, all right, I got him. So my first time seeing my dad since I was 9 years old, and I was 17 at the time. My first time seeing him since I was 9 years old was he and I exchanging dollars for product. And I served my dad 2 for $35. Actually, I gave him 2 for $30. 220s of Coke. That was my first interaction with my father in almost 10 years. When he came back to me, he like, yo, son, that work you got is crazy. He like, yo, Lincoln, Nebraska, it go for double. So that about 3 weeks later, I took a trip from North Penn Station with 2 ounces of Coke in my side pocket, and I flew to Lincoln, Nebraska in real life. Just before 9/11 and all of that, I had a Nietzsche cargo shorts on, Tim's on, a white tee, and a blue Yankee fitted. Remember the day, 2 ounces of Coke in my side pocket. I flew to Nebraska, and my dad taught me how to rock up for the first time. We cooked it up, and we served it to all his friends. And I used his house as a crack house in Nebraska, and I racked up. And I took a few more trips out to Nebraska. And in 4 days after I turned 18 years old, which is 4 months after I graduated high school, I was making another trip to Nebraska. I went to New York. I got a quarter kilo of Coke. I had in Harlem, 138th Street. I had a loaded .38 handgun on me, and I got locked up in New York. The police illegally searched my vehicle and locked me up. And I was facing 3 years to life in prison for an A2 felony and a B felony for the gun. And went to the Tombs in Manhattan and went to Rikers Island, C-74, Mod 3 Upper. And that wouldn't be my last time being incarcerated. I did a bid from up north in New York, came home with the work release in Harlem. So I've been through so many parts of the system. I've been through boot camps, I've been through work releases, I've been through probations, I've been through paroles, I've been through ankle monitoring. I've done out-of-state bids in New York. I did an out-of-state bid in Maryland, ECI, Cumberland, Maryland, because I always on the road and I was, making moves. And I learned about real estate and financing in 2002 while on parole. I got a job at a mortgage company while on parole and learned how to refinance houses and how to build my credit. And then I went back to the streets after the parole program and had some close calls on some trips and some things. And by 2005, I was turning 25 years old. And I was like, yo, if I keep this up, I'm gonna be a has-been. I'm gonna be another story. I'm gonna be like, yeah, Jay had the red Navigator, Jay had the Rollie watch, I'm gonna be a has-been story guy. I'm gonna be like, yo, I'm gonna be in prison at 30 with the pictures and on my locker and what I did and who I got it with, and how many girls I had. And at 25, I was like, yo, I just don't want to be that guy. And I was hustling with a bunch of gangbangers in North. And they'll tell you, I got one of my guys reached out to me recently, and it was like, it was a lot of activity going on. And there's a lot of activity going on. And I just knew I would be dead or in jail. So at 2005, I challenged myself to say, Jay, are you a hustler or are you a drug dealer? Because a drug dealer only can sell drugs. A hustler can hustle anything. And I walked off the block that day. I swear on everything. I gave all my work away. I still had Coke left. I had heroin left, dope left, all that. I gave my work away. I didn't even sell it. I gave it away. And I broke my trap phone. I left the corner that day on South 10th and Springfield, Newark, New Jersey, 100 and Avon, South Side. And I really was like, yo, I'm going to try this real estate thing full steam. If I'm really the man, I'm really a hustler, I should be able to go into real estate and take the same. Because I was getting up, listen, how I am now is how I was then. I was getting up 5, 6 a.m., 4 a.m., hitting the block early, not leaving until late, come back out, So I said, if I took my same energy, swag, charisma, hustle, all that business acumen into real estate, what would happen? I literally went broke. My first 9 months in the real estate was borrowing money from my mom, all that. I had a couple properties that weren't cash flowing for me, but I end up succeeding and catching some rhythm, made 100,000 within my first year. It was my first 2 to 3 years in my first million, and really started just building up a business and real estate empire. Now, currently to date, like I said, we run a multi-million-dollar real estate fund with office buildings, apartment complexes. We privately lend capital to our community. We created nearly 100 jobs in the last 2 years. I got nearly 30 staff members on staff right now. We have the Black House here in Atlanta, Georgia, 30,000 square foot building, 2.6 acre campus in the qualified opportunity zone. And just has to do some cool things in business. I've authored 3 books, 2-time best-selling author, and I'm also the founder and CEO of the Jay Morrison Academy, which has started a digital educational business before Corona, before the crisis. We were doing digital education in 2014, was our launch, January 8th of 2014. And since then, we've educated over 100,000 students. Since then, we have made the Inc. 500 twice, number 588 fastest growing companies in the country. And since then, we have made Inc. 500 top 10 educational companies in the country. And so I've been able to do some cool things in business, no college education, coming out of the streets. And so I believe in our potential. Like, my story makes me believe in all of our stories. Mysonne's story, Make Believe in Our Story. Dre's story, being a pimp and then becoming into an entrepreneur and leading legislation, and to Rizza's story, being the youngest of 10 and being around so much drugs and violence and activity. You know, so I believe in our stories, and I was called to this work in 2012. God said, take care of my people and I'll take care of you. I didn't understand that then, but I committed to that journey. While I was a celebrity realtor, while I was on NBC doing a show called Open House NYC on Sundays, I was a real estate expert on NBC. I've been a part of multiple political activist campaigns and all that, but I knew my calling was serving my people, and that's what I want to contribute to our build and our conversation with the streets today. Thank you, King Jay, for having me.
Yeah, thank everybody. So we're about to turn the corner. You see all the credibility in the room, and you know, testimonials are very, very important because it connects to people that feel like, you know, they're the forgotten. So for us to be able to share our personal testimonies of where we've come from, it allows them to have a real connection to us, because a lot of people talk over people because they don't want to tell their stories, right? Because they want to hide their stories. They want to hide their challenges. So you got a panel of folks here that are really transparent about the things that we've gone through. And I always say, you know, when I talk to people, when I'm lecturing or whatever, especially to our community, I always say, tell your story before your enemy does. Tell your story before your enemy does, right? Take authority over that. You take control over that, right? So let me just say something. We're gonna get right into it now. We're talking to everybody, but we are intentional about trying to reach the folks that people feel that are unreachable. We're intentional about our own people, right? Especially those youngsters out there and females out there that feel they ain't got no direction, which is why they're doing some things out there. So let me just say this. There are two things that I want to talk about first. Those two things are some of the things that get us caught up as a people. One of those things are, I'll give you a perfect illustration. I was having a conversations with the streets, and an older man, after we had ended, came up and he was talking to me. But you know, after the conversations with the streets, everybody wants to talk to the panels. It was just real busy. And I said, look, here's my number. Just call me and we'll talk then. So he called me. And the first thing he said to me, he says, Andre, I'm going to ask you a question. I said, go ahead, shoot. He said, what are we going to do about our youth? And I said, man, don't ever call my phone and ask me no question like that. And he was stunned. He said, what? I said, man, don't ever call my phone asking me no questions like that. I said, you attempting to play a game. I said, you want me to give you some validation only based upon your question, or what are we going to do about the youth? I said, you sound like a dinosaur. I said, let me ask you a question. What are you doing about the youth? Them days of what are we going to do, them days is over. Those are dinosaur days. If you're not at the table and you are not right now mobilizing, I don't want to hear what the hell you got to say, because you're attempting to play a game. That's one of the problems that get us stuck. The second problem is we have orators all over this country. Black men and women, phenomenal at talking, especially about the problem, right? So people start talking about the problems and the etymology of this and all that stuff. And our people are like, man, that was deep. They deep. Wow, man. Woo. But at the end of the day, you ain't got no work.
Come on.
You just talked about the problem. And you made our community feel wonderful about you just talking about a problem, but you ain't delivered no work to your community. So you ain't honoring our community. This is a day that the only way you honor our community is you put the work before our community. That honors them. That's right. I don't want you to believe in what I say. I want to give you something. You know, there's an old saying, if you don't believe me, believe the work. This is a season right now that Black folks all over this country and all over the world, we got to stop allowing just voices that sound good to us without presenting us with some evidence, because we've been deceived for hundreds of years through politicians and the like about what they're going to do for us. If we shut that down right now about what somebody is going to do for you, and we shut that down, and we are saying to ourselves inside of ourselves, it ain't about what you're doing. Before you come to me, present the work before us so we can have something to believe in based upon the work. There's many people out there talking about philosophies, and they haven't even impacted their own communities with their own philosophies. But then you get out in the world and you start telling us to believe your philosophy, but what have you done in your own community, in your own city, in your own state? Until you can present the work to the people, we as a people need to shut that down. I'll let somebody else go because I know nobody getting fired up.
I want to chime in real quick, and I really want to hear what the brothers got to say. I want to start with that last point. How do we challenge that and be confrontational without being confrontational? Because then that becomes drama, it becomes beef, it becomes online feuds. How do, right, in the spirit of solutions? I think we probably all agree with you, especially in this online era when people aren't who they supposed to be. And I mean post, what they Instagram post, what they Facebook post, what they used to like that. They ain't who they supposed to be. Right?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna steal that, Jay. I'm stealing that. It's going on my Instagram in 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna snatch that
one. These cats ain't who they supposed to be, bro. Like they ain't who they supposed to be. They say these things, right? So we know that. And we know that we come from an era where, like Hov said, people will pull your card, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, right now, how do we pull that BS card without being seen? Because people try to pull our cards and say whatever, well, we got work, right?
Right.
So it's like, what's that litmus test that we can, what we can do? There's 2 questions, I'm shut up. So one is, how do we do it without being confrontational? Because that's what mean you hurting feelings, you crunching on toes, and you calling people out when they bullshit, right? Which then cause huge dramas. It's like, y'all got to work that out and all of that. But all you're doing is shining light on truth, or really shining light on bullshit, right? So that's one. How do we do it unconfrontationally? 2 is, I think we got to figure out as real authentic brothers that do that's a dope part, bro. We could all stack up bodies of work, like every single one of us, like work, like legislation passed, like critical, like families healed, like, you know what I'm saying, like real work. So how do we set up a system or something like a report card or something? Because people out here that's popping up with 1 year, they might go viral real quick. So people take viral as work. So you got somebody that might go viral. They got more followers than all of us put together, and then fake to be about like the community empowerment and the people because the new trend. But they only, like you said, they have nothing to show for in their actual community of where's some youth you empowered, right? Where's some high schools you did something for? Where's some, right? So how do we do that? Is kind of my question. I agree with the point.
Let me jump.
How do we have that accountability?
Let me jump because I think everybody's going to do it different. I think some people are going to be confrontational. I think your delivery is going to be sometimes going to hurt somebody else's feeling. Like they said, hit dog gonna holler. So when you calling out people who ain't really doing nothing, and you're presenting the facts that even when you present facts about, when you present your resume and say, like, this is the work I'm doing. And there's a lot of people that don't do none of this work. Because they're not doing the work, it's gonna be offensive. And I think as warriors in this game, like the minister says, man, this ain't no unity party with punks, man. They say I don't need to coexist with you if we're not on the same page. If your goal is not to elevate these people, and you trying to when we did the panel last week, and Brother Rizza got on the panel and said before we did it, he said, listen, brothers, I love everybody, but if you ain't who you say you are and you trying to play, I'm gonna call you out. I'm not here to play no games. I'm not, because that's what it is for me. Because and that's why we connect on this space right here, because we are all authentic and we can see that in each other. That's why when we call each other, it's immediate, whatever you need, because we respect authenticity. And that's what we got to do. I think the way to do it is continue to connect with those that you know are authentic. And the rest of them are going to get weeded out, because they're going to see, well, why none of these people mess with you? Why don't any of these people? Because I know they doing the work. Why they ain't with you? You know what I'm saying? That's a conversation that's going to have to start having. The more that we connect like this and we keep building like this and doing what we supposed to do, that's going to speak volumes to the fact that you're like, that's why when I did what I did with that panel, it's like, okay, I hear a lot of people talking. I know who's doing the work. I'm going to call the brothers I know are doing the work. This panel right here, when Dre called me, I'm like, I know Dre's doing the work. I know y'all doing the work. So I don't have a problem lending my voice. And when the people that call me that's not doing the work, I'm gonna say that certain people that's doing the work need to be at the table. And sometimes just because you have a platform or you have a voice or you have money, you don't need to be the voice of that. You need to put that behind the people that you actually know doing the work. And that's what I think the problem is. I was having a conversation with one of my Asian brothers yesterday. He was talking about the problems with the Africans and the Asians because he's from China, my brother China Mac, and we had a 2-hour discussion. And I was explaining to him, the reality is that people don't want to help other people. The reason he's like, yo, why don't, he said, I know that black people, I said, black people have been the face of crime. Black people have been the face of everything negative. So when we look at what's going on in China right now, it makes us mad because here again, some shit that we ain't got nothing to do with, y'all try to make us the problem for it. And it's just not okay. You understand what I'm saying? He's like, well, why don't black people unite? And why don't black people do these things? And I was explaining to him, we've been divided for so long. We've been taught the wrong things. We've been indoctrinated. They've stolen our culture from us for so long that the process is going to take for us to be unified is going to be a vigorous one. It's not going to be overnight. It's not like what y'all have in Chinatown, because everybody comes from China with the same culture and the mind state, and you see somebody that look like you and you immediately want to embrace them. We've been indoctrinated into a culture that don't even fit us. So a lot of these people are doing things, and that's the problem. What you see these people that's talking about shit that they not doing or trying to still, just be in spaces just because they have a platform. No, step back sometime, my brother. You are my brother. You see me doing the work. Elevate me in my space. You know what I'm saying? Elevate, take your resources, take your money, take all of those resources, elevate Brother Rizza, elevate Jay Morrison, make sure that the Tulsa real estate wins, elevate Dre, make sure that the bill that he has, for police accountability is in every state. Like, this is the things that we have to start doing, and we have to be intentional about making sure. Like, this is why we said we have to form a committee to where we start going to brothers like, listen, no, listen. We know that you got a voice. We don't need you to speak about it. We need you to fund this. Or we need us to be on this platform. We need you to be a part of the collective, because this ain't the work you do. Do the work you do. You entertain. You have all these things. Do that work. Let us do, make sure that you elevate us in the spaces that we are supposed to be elevated. And I think that's the way we go about it. Because sometimes, some people you got to call out. Sometimes it's going to be calm. Sometimes you're going to call out what they haven't done, because sometimes you got to look like this. You have to look the devil in the face and say, look, you're lying. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not going to always be pretty. Everybody's not going to like it. Our goal is not to offend. We're not going out there to create a problem with our brothers. But at the end of the day, we're not going to allow you to mislead our culture, mislead our people, and lie to them and take advantage of them when we out here willing to die for our work. So, it's a double-edged sword. We want to be calm, but at the end of the day, we prepare for war too.
And you know what? Let me beautiful responses, brothers, from all three of you. Beautiful responses. Real, recognize, real.
You muted. You got muted, King.
In real life. I don't know if you, okay, yeah. Real, recognize, real, wherever it is. And to those who are on social media, for those of us who have been in the community doing this for years, the majority of people who are doing work in the community are not on social media. I want to make this very clear. They may have a social media account, they may have an Instagram page, but they only have a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand followers. The majority of people who are doing the work in the community, who are a part of nonprofit organizations, who are a part of group homes, who are a part of these drug rehabilitation centers, halfway houses, the community groups and community organizations, all these people, for the vast majority, are not on social media. As a matter of fact, the majority of people who have brought the most impact, you've never heard of them before on social media, for the majority, those who are talking. And those who talk the most usually are those who are doing the least, usually. But there are plenty who are talking a lot because they're doing a lot. So the way we weed them out, Jay, you said it beautifully. Mysonne, you said it beautifully. One, stack up the work. Talk less, do more. The only reason why Brother Rizza talks is because a part of the work is the research. So that's why I have to say certain things. But the only reason why I can speak the way I do, one, is because of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, who was my example, to where I could see how, as Brother Andre was saying, an orator really speaks, but not speaks just to our people, but speaks to the enemy and exposes the real enemy of all of us. and then who knows how to speak gently to our people, and then knows how to also speak in a rough way enough with love to pull at the accountability and the responsibility of us as a people too. So I had to see that in a living example. So he is my example. But as far as the work goes, we have to do far more and speak less. I'm absolutely with that, Jay. Show more of the work. There's so much work that we have done that is nowhere on social media. That's what people don't understand. A lot of the majority of work that I've done, for example, has not been recorded on camera. There ain't no pictures because people who are homeless, people who are on drugs, people who can't read or write don't want to be on no damn camera. Why would I want you to put before the world my shame? I'm a 56-year-old man. I'm a 45-year-old man, and I don't know how to read one damn sentence that a fourth grader could read. Why do I want to be on camera? See, this is the stuff people don't think. You think that because it's not on camera that it didn't exist. Well, the majority of people, like I said, who do the work in the community are not on camera. They're in the street. So that's possibly one of the most idiotic things that anyone could say is, well, I ain't seen it. Yeah, you're talking about over 93,000 cities in the country of over 340 million people. Of course, I ain't seen a lot of it either.
Right.
You know, but it doesn't
mean he
wasn't
looking for it. He wasn't searching for it either.
Come on, man. So it's like let's not, let's not become so arrogant. Like, brother Mysonne, matter of fact, all of you said when you get a couple followers or a couple, internet people who some of them may be real people, some of them may be fake accounts, some of them may be government agents, depending on what type of work you're in. Don't let the numbers fool you ever. That does not mean anything. Yeah, I got 400 and something thousand on Instagram, over 100,000 on Facebook, 100,000 plus on YouTube. But what does that mean if I'm not creating real change in the lives of the people? That don't mean a damn thing. The numbers mean nothing. We can be talking all day and all this, but if we don't help somebody to be in a better position or condition tomorrow than they were yesterday or today, then it don't mean a damn thing. None of it, bro.
Yeah, you know what, King? I was just thinking, is like, why is that important? It's not about our individual resumes or even our comrades. It's not about us, but it is about how the people really are being duped. And social media is that new television that is having people being duped to think like, go this way or go that way, or yo, this is real, or yo, you the GOAT. Like, yo, the GOAT emoji is the most overused emoji ever in history of social media. Like, they putting goats next to people that got 1 year in business with, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're a goat.
Come on,
now.
brother.
Like, yo, so you greatest of all time? Like, you only been in it for a year. What do you mean time? Like, you ain't got no time. But one thing that'd be cool though, I think, to start having some level of accountability. I agree, Mike. We're gonna do it somehow, one way, one day. One of them get fed up. We're gonna set out a form or something. I think we do need a committee, and I think we just need some simple bylaws for that committee. Like, yo, you got to be able to present your social resume. And I'm not just talking about how many videos you offer to the community. I'm not talking about how many paid events that you offer, but what is your substantive body of actual social or political actions that you've participated in deeply or have led? And they need to be like, yo, you can't fill up at least 10 lines on this joint of 10 acts of social activism or political activism, then you can't be a part of the group. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get your weight up.
Not only that, let me give us some clarity. Yes, we want that, but then we also want a personal lifestyle.
Are you living what you're preaching?
We need a personal lifestyle that reflects the integrity of the person.
Come on.
So let me just say this. When I'm thinking about the voices out there, my direction is not at the voices. My direction is at the people that are the sheep to the voices. So I have an accountability. There's no way I can sit here and see that go on and not speak to the people to at least give them some guidance or some leverage, right? And to communicate to the people out there, this is what this looks like, right? This is what change looks like. And this is how I honor you. I honor you, my people. I honor you because I value you with the work to bring that before you. Nothing else. Let me give that to you first so that you at least know that I'm serious about you. But that's That's my integrity to our people. That's why I do that. But you said something earlier, Jay, how do we prevent the confrontation? I'm not really speaking to those dudes. You know, I'm speaking to the atmosphere. I'm speaking to wherever it hit, but I come to lead.
Mm-hmm.
In leadership, we don't really understand the consequences or the requirements when you say you come to lead.
That's right.
That's real. That is real,
Right?
brother. Come on.
And your responsibility in that leadership. When I first came back to Seattle after they killed my brother, it was Black organizations that stood up against me because the way that I was maneuvering, they weren't comfortable with. So I told, as I was building my organization, I was telling my organization, I know what my people want and I know what they need. They need the work. The motto of Not This Time is do the work, because the work will go before you can step in certain places. The work will speak for you before you can even get into certain doors. It'll go in there and open those doors before you, right? So when you're maneuvering with systems, you know, and when you're dealing with your people, I'll give you a perfect illustration. Let me just say this. In dealing with police accountability, my organization was inviting, you know, mayors and police chief and Congress people to our Black-led organization. And one of the police chiefs we invited, one of his officers killed one of the families that my organization represent. And she was devastated, crying, how could you invite him when they killed my, when they killed my son? And I said, the first week I came back here, after they killed my brother, I sat down with the chief of police. And I told her, I know I can't bring my little brother back, but I'm still willing to work with you so that we can reduce the incidents of violence. And that shocked her because she was waiting for a reaction and not a response. So our community has been so reactionary based upon historic trauma. We'll react this thing out. And they have mastered our reaction.
That's right.
Right? But when I said to this police chief, I'm still willing to work with you, I took the narrative. Our reactions allow us to lose narrative, and that's how they've been defeating us. So I made sure I took the narrative. When the narrative wasn't the media talking about our reactions on the streets, we kept it on the actions of the police officer that fired the shot. So we kept the pressure on them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I was explaining to the mother, I too met with the police chief. And if you trust me, we can't allow them to say they didn't meet with us. We can't give them that leverage. We must cut that off. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because dealing with the system, and when you got an organization, if you're not careful, you can reduce the organizations to just the feelings of the people without leadership. You got to lead.
Wow. Say that again. Say that again, King Dre. Say that again.
If you are a leader and you have not learned to love or lead beyond your pain, you shouldn't be a leader because you're going to get in the way. I was explaining to her, we have to lead right here. We have to take the initiative and lead, and then we can control the situation. So, brothers.
That was deep.
Man, you know what? Just right now, I was just sent something because of what has been going on for quite some time. Some of you may know. I know for the most part, brothers, you're all on the East Coast, and I know Dre, you're on the West Coast in Seattle. But here in LA, there's a gang called East Coast Crips and F-13. Okay, Mexican Mafia. You're talking about one of the bloodiest wars that have been going on for years, well over 2 decades, over 20 years, where they killing each other back and forth, back and forth. Nation of Islam, different groups, United We Stand, Second Chance, Ceasefire, a lot of these organizations of former gang members and others have been working for years to bring a truce. But like I said, it was facilitated where they agreed to sit down with a meeting and to really bring it to the table. And that meeting took place a couple months ago where they called a truce and brought it all the way down. A truce. Blacks don't kill Mexicans. Mexicans no more killing blacks. And that was on both ends, face to face. They said, you kill some of ours, You know, we killed some of yours, and we both said the same thing, right? Y'all did this, boom, bam. And it was apology, and it was agreement to respect. You got families, we got families. You got children, we have children. We have a wife or wives, y'all got women, etc. We want to live. We live among y'all. We live amongst each other. We don't have a choice. Either we're going to keep killing or we're going to end this. And as what you said, Brother Dre, that right there, to be able to put your pain down and to increase your humility, to put your arrogance away and your feelings down for the betterment of the whole is one of the greatest characteristics of a leader. One of the greatest. To sacrifice that you want to be right, and you do have enough reasons to be right, but they on that side equally have enough reasons to be right too, because you both valid. We both did wrong to each other, but for us to both say, all right, listen, let's stop, so that we can survive. That is what happened, and that was possibly one of the biggest things that could ever happen, brother, within the last 30 years was that war coming to an end. And not only that, something recently happened where some young brothers, caused the situation with a Mexican elder who sells ices, the push cart ices. And that almost started up. And it did kick up some issues recently between blacks and Mexicans again. Before that, it was Paramount High School. We had to go down to Paramount High School to stand in between it. Again, sacrificing your pain, sacrificing your ego for the betterment of the whole. And we went and stopped it, which prevented these middle schoolers from kicking up again the Black and Brown War. And then recently, as I said, just now, I just received a message, and it was Minister Abdul Malik, or Minister Tony Muhammad, formerly known as Minister Tony Muhammad, who was the one spearheading and helping to lead this, because it's not about us, which again is the characteristic of a leader. It's not about you. It is about the flock. It's not about you. It's about the sheep. It's not about you. It's about the community. It's not about you. It's about us. And that right there, brother, is what has helped to spark unity, the saving of lives, the prevention of bloodshed among thousands, potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions. So just to your point, brother, that's what happened right now, literally right now. And there are different brothers on Mexican side, OGs, and on Black brother side right now from different gangs who are calling down a mandatory ceasefire and peace, truce on both ends. I'm telling this less than 2 minutes ago, I just saw something where they are calling that down. See, you see how the spirit is when we coming together like this.
That's right.
Peace is being called in the streets, man. And I'm like, man, this the stuff that y'all don't see on social media. This is hood politics, which is not on social media like that. It's a whole other world.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I want to interrupt you, but I was thinking when Dre was talking, and the whole theme of this is nobody's gonna save us but us, and it's the same conversation I was having yesterday with the brother, and I was talking about leadership, and the importance and understanding of leadership. In order to be a leader, you have to understand what a leader is. You have to be able to recognize that everybody's not going to be a leader, or you'll find yourself frustrated. That's where the conflict comes. When you embrace your true position as a leader, you understand that you're going to know things, you're going to be accessible to information, you're going to have a spirit that is going to be different than everybody else's. And it's going to make you understand, it's going to make you way more compassionate, it's going to make you understanding, it's going to make you fit to lead. Because a lot of times before I embraced my own position, I was mad with people. I was angry with people for doing things or not doing things as the way I would think, or not moving in the manner that I would think, and realized that they were just following someone else that wasn't leading properly. And if I wanted them to change what they was doing, if I wanted to change the mind state of the people, then I had to be the example of the leadership that I know was capable of people following. So that's one of the main characteristics of leadership. When you have leadership, you have to look at the flock and realize why the flock is going the wrong way, because you're not leading them. Because it's your fault. It's not the flock. So you have to respect the flock. You have to respect the fact that they're not as knowledgeable as you. It's not arrogance. But it's understanding. Leadership requires you to have a level of confidence and understanding that sometimes not be understood by everybody else. You have to, it's a
Right.
lonely place, man. It's a very lonely place, man. I've had conversations with the minister in which, he says it's lonely. It's lonely being sent by God to do a job. It's lonely being, being outcast by people that you love because you're so fearless and strong, and they know you right, but they scared to stand by you because they don't want to deal with the flames that come with that truth. They don't want to deal with the pressure that comes with it. So this whole theme about who's going to lead us is going to be us, the leaders who understand and who've identified with the ability to lead, who've identified with the call to lead. And we have to lead our people in love, but we have to lead them in sternness and honesty and truthfulness at the same time.
No question. We lost Jay here. Hold on, let me see what's up.
I think his camera just went out.
He probably just clicked off for a second, was digging in his nose or something. You know how we do. You don't want to dig in your nose on camera and that, so but he's still there. He's probably gonna come right back in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So
my son, what he? Yes, sir.
Oh, he says I'm here.
Yeah,
that's my son.
I'm telling you, back. I listen. Those are tricks.
You need humor to be a leader too, man. You need humor.
That's right.
Especially in this type of work, you got to have fun with it.
That's right.
Yeah, and so what are some of the characteristics that make up? I don't see myself.
Oh, you don't see yourself.
Yeah, let me go see what I can work on. Let me bring him back, guys.
Okay.
So.
Is he back?
I don't see him. I see his picture.
He's back right there.
Oh, now he's back.
Right, I've got to finish. I just got to finish. Clean it up real quick. Yeah. Did you want to say something, Jay?
Sometimes I got to do a little something. I got to cut it off. You can't.
Come on, man. That's what it's for.
My other phone, my other device died. My bad.
That's right.
Doing too much.
So I was saying, some of the descriptions of leadership, boils into manhood. Let me just say this. When I did the movie American Pimp, went to the Sundance Film Festival in '96, the Hughes brothers actually hired me as a technical advisor to put about maybe 80% of the guys that were in the movie. And I remember out of all the things that appealed to people in our communities around the country is something that I said when I was facing a life sentence. And I said, my father taught me that before you anything, you got to be a man of principles, a man of character, a man of integrity. And it's like everywhere I went, that was the one thing. It wasn't like you was a good pimp and all that, because I was, but it was the fact that I talked about manhood. And underneath that condition, underneath a life sentence, and still not bowing. And that resonated, and I'm glad that it resonated. I remember Snoop one time when I talked to him, and I'm not calling names, I just thought it was significant that he said what he said to let me know where his perception was. He said, we needed to see that type of strength, Drake, that type of strength. Not this, but this, right? So what has happened is that systematically, when I speak of the system, I'm speaking of white supremacy. And understand this, and I need to go into this because we're talking to our people. White supremacy wasn't just started and achieved through violence only, but brilliance. White supremacy has been so brilliant that it has lasted hundreds of years, and whatever it has stood up against, it has defeated everything in its pathway. So a lot of times our people are positioned to go ask the system for things, and like a weakness, playing from a position of weakness. Why would a system that has controlled the world all these years change? They're not going to change. The only way you're going to change that, we as a people, is to present a genius that's greater than that, where that becomes insignificant. In order to create that genius, you got to be here, right? And the people that create that genius, that new genius, will be the people that run the world next. So what they've been successful at doing through think tanks and very brilliant individuals, is selling us the idea in our communities that the tough guy, that us being tough validates our manhood. But what we don't understand, the reason they sell that image to us is because the tough guy image has great limitations. You don't see white people with that, and I'm not comparing white people, I just want to expose some things. They don't walk around with it because they understand that knowledge and brilliance runs the world. So as long as if they could sell that idea to us, that the tough guy makes us manly, we'll never get out of the condition that we're in. Our community will never praise and look to Black genius as great as a tough acting rapper. You understand what I'm saying? Right now, we are in a real transitional place right now, where we're either gonna elevate to that next level, or we're gonna be kept down here. Right now, there is nothing more praised, adored, and valued more than entertainment in this tough guy image, right? So when I was in prison, I had a little situation with a guy. He didn't like me. He had heard things about me or whatever. And I had a partner that I used to walk the yard with, and they had sent him the Victor Bill when they just opened Victor Bill, and they sent me after. But while they sent him first, this dude thought he had an opportunity to say something to me. So one day we was on the yard, and he said, "Man, Dre, you ain't nothing but a bitch." And I didn't say nothing, because I just told him, I said, "Man, you can call me what you want. That stuff is so small. It's like you can jump off a penny and break your neck." I said, "But if you approach me to harm me, then I'm gonna have to defend myself, right?" But who are you, in my mind? Who are you to get my attention? Because all that is a play of attention. And the moment I empower the person that says that to me, he's empowered and I'm lessened. So this is one of the greatest lessons to youngsters, because right now they think that if somebody calls you a bitch, it is time to react and to protect your pride. But I explained to them, if somebody called Bill Gates a bitch, what do you think he'll do? He won't do nothing. He'll walk away, go live his billionaire life like that ain't nothing, because elephants don't respond to ants.
Come on, brother.
You understand what I'm saying?
Come
so
on.
In that situation, if I would have had reacted to what he said, I would have empowered him.
That's right.
So we have a community of men or males reacting to everything, and you learn that from your mama.
Hold on, King Dre. I gotta highlight this, because this is the highlight of the whole panel to me. When we talk about conversation with the streets and what your objective was to help save our youth, that's, bro, King, it's our ability. So I want to tell you my jail story. 98, Mice, I'm up north. I'm in one of the camps. I got my greens on. Mind you, 2 stories real quick. One, I had a drug charge and a gun charge I pleaded guilty to. So they sent out letters for work release. I'm going to fill out my work release form. All the OGs, Supreme from the Bronx, this one from Fort Greene, this one from over here, they all telling me, mind you, I'm a little skinny kid from Jersey. They're like, "Man, why are you filling out that work release form, man? They don't get work release to gun charges." I'm like, well, let me think, right? Mind it, power of the mind, the genius. Let me think. Well, if I'm filling out a work release form and you tell me they don't give work release to gun charges, my first question was, do I get in trouble if I fill out this form? Will they send me to the box? Do I lose good time? They're like, "Nah, but you're wasting your time." King, I'm in prison.
I'm
going to fill out my form and shoot my shot.
Why not?
2.5 weeks later, "Robinson, come on down. You're going to Harlem in 2 weeks. Work release." Now, during that time of waiting to go to work release, a king by the name of, I know his last name was Avila, I remember it, Dominican kid. Everybody around the TV snickering. I wake up, everybody around TV snickering. I asked my man, White Boy Eddie from Staten Island. I said, "What's going on? Everybody laughing shit." They're like, "Bro, they clowning you, bro. The dude Avila called you a pussy." So I go over there, reactive. Now, I tap him on the bed. He hop off the bunk. We face to face. Now I'm thinking, my daughter, who's 20 years old now, goes to one of the top colleges in the country, Anna. She was born while I was in that prison. My first time meeting my daughter was on the visiting room floor. I got less than 2 weeks to go to work release to see my daughter. Or I can react to hold my honor in this jail dorm in front of white boy Eddie, Supreme, and Avila, and I can defend my jail honor by calling him to the bathroom and then going to the box in Oneida because I want to live by jail and street principles. Man, I called my pussy back and took my ass over to my fucking bunk, went home in a week and a half, seen my baby mom on an 8-hour furlough the next week while they in jail talk about snickering about me. I'm home on 125th Harlem in a hotel with my baby mama and going to see my daughter. Using my brain. Now, if Jay Morrison, again, the fund manager of the first Black-owned real estate crowdfunding history, the fund manager of the largest Black-owned company in the history of our community to have successfully executed the level of group economics, equitable group economics that we've executed. Mr. Corner Class, 65 corner classes in 32 cities, right? All the contributions I make to the culture, I've seen tens of millions of dollars in real life. King, I don't have any of that. None of this exists. We're not on this call right now. Had I reacted in 1998, upstate New York in my camp, and punched Avila in his face to prove to some guys who didn't even know me, ain't grow up with me, ain't even care about me, that I'm tough. I lose my good time, my jail sentence extended. Now from a 1 to 3, I'm doing the whole 3, and my whole life is different. One decision to put your brawn, to put your bravado, to put your muscle over your brain muscle, to leave you in a whole different situation in life. I just had someone that sent my wife and I a death threat last week. My security team looked at it. We verified the guy, got his address, know who he is, and all of that. Literally sent a death threat like, yo, you better leave. You leave it in a box. Sent my wife a picture of his John. DM'd her. We know who he is. We know where he at. And I got resources. But what do I risk by being reactionary? What do I risk in putting muscle over mind? And you said it to me, King Dre, you've been a great mentor to me. And at one conversation, you said to me, Jay, you know your Dre way, how you do? Jay, you listen, you can't out petty them, but they can't out big you.
Come on.
Listen, Mice, we can't out petty them.
No, I can't.
Listen, we can't out petty them.
I'm not even close, bro.
I'm work in progress. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm work in progress. I am work in progress because
definitely.
I definitely am because I'm passionate about who I am and my reputation. All I ever had was my name. I've been down to 0, and I'm able to go to any community, sit before anybody, and my name and my reputation is untarnished because I've carried myself as a man with honor my whole life. So this new internet thing where people assassinate your character and put false claims on your name is something that I have to get acclimated to. I have to understand that these are people that intentionally try to. I'm not trying to find you and beat you up, but I do respond, and I want to get away.
Do you react or respond?
I respond. I don't react.
Good,
because
good.
reaction, because I understand. I've seen the same thing that Jay. One of my best friends was going home in 2 weeks and stabbed the dude in the yard and ended up doing 25 to life in jail.
Man.
You know, and so I've seen that in real life. I've watched those things happen, and I cried with him. You know, I cried for him like he's going home in 2 weeks. You know, so I understand that reality, and I never, when I was in prison. And as I got shorter, I stopped being around people. I stopped even going around. People be like, yo, why you? I'm going home. I'm not going. You think you go outside in the yard and risk getting into something because for what? It don't benefit me. CEOs used to try to pull me out of my character, come throw my stuff up, and I'd be like, you can have all of that stuff, sir. I'm going home eventually. Whatever you know, like so. My mind state was always that I've done that, but in this space, I'm learning that there are people who want to try to assassinate you, and sometimes it'd be so far-fetched, you know, because it'd be so far from who you are that it bothers me because I'm like, I've been in the streets with people who will kill you and murder you, and I've never been spoken to this way. I've stood face to face with killers and anything, and we've dealt in mutual respect. I've never had the vitriol of attack that I have online.
Come on.
Sometimes
that's because that's the only place where they're safe.
You know what I'm saying? So it bothers me, and I'm moving away from that space, and I don't react, but I definitely respond because I don't like people to put lies out there, and that's all that's out there. You know.
Well, let me say this, my son. Let me say this to you, family. The scope of what you're dealing with is too small. Let me tell you like this. Them is not the people you need to be worried about.
You're right.
The real people you need to be worried about is looking at those weaknesses, saying, you're not even equipped to come deal with us, Jazz, if them little people can get you to be like that.
Go ahead.
Them real people are looking and studying what is the Achilles heel of every single one of us. Because when we deal with them real people, what a real battle is, they don't even respond to that stuff. You see how they talk to each other? They master going to debate classes and all. They love it. See what they say? I do a bomb and they say it to each other. In our community, man, that ain't nothing. Let me just say how I feel. That shit ain't nothing. I'm preparing for the real enemy. I'm studying the real enemy.
That's right.
I'm up in his household, which is why I said to you guys earlier what I did to that police chief. Because I understand the system works through narratives. And never one time did my tone change. Because I really don't think that you could walk 1,000 miles in my moccasins and be poised as I am, because I faced death many times on the street. So now I look at a system and I know they're not as strong as me. And I know they operate only denigrating us through our emotionalism, being validated through our emotionalism. So our community, this urban stuff, that shit ain't nothing.
And matter of fact,
go ahead,
brother. And in that spirit, brother Dre, because everything y'all saying is absolutely correct. And my son, like you said, no, we're not perfect, brother, because like you said, the online assassination of character is something that all of us are pretty much new to, because we didn't grow up online like a lot of these people did. This is, like you said, real life. Okay, somebody say something to you like that or threaten you, whatever, in real life. Okay, it's gonna be real life consequences. You can't caption, you can't edit your caption. You can't edit what you say. Ain't no filter you can put on nothing right in front of my face. It is what it is. You know, ain't no fake account. I'm looking at you. You right here, right? So the enemy, most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there are 3 things that the enemy did not teach us after he took it all away. The science of business, the science of mating, meaning how to properly mate with one another, our wife or our spouse, or, the woman that we're with, and the science of warfare. They took all that from us and then became masters of it, and then learned how to master us through our mind and through our fear. So as you're saying, we don't know warfare because we're reacting to people who don't have any more power than we do over the real system. How am I reacting to something that you are saying as if you can actually control what's happening in our environment? You live on that side of the street, I live on this one. Neither one of us own it, but I'm tripping off of what you're saying about me. But you can't show me the amount of work that you did, but I have mountains of work. See, it's our ego, brothers, that has to be dead when it comes to this work. Brother, I've been training in 15 years, something that I don't even put on online. When I started training in martial arts heavy in 2005, I told my sensei, I trained under 3 black belt, all degreed black belts, Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do, and Shotokan. I told them I don't want any of my training videos uploaded. I don't want any of my sparring tapes uploaded. I don't want anything that you train me with in this academy to be uploaded online. And they said, why? I said, because the work that I do, I don't want anyone to be able, specifically the enemy or this system, to know what I'm capable of. I said that I was 16. I was 16 at the time. I want y'all to understand this. And so they said, okay, we understand that. So your brother's been training in martial arts for over 14 years to do damage, okay, in a major way. But you wouldn't know that because I look like a tall, slim, 6'7" brother with glasses who speaks real fast and gives you facts and solutions and is in the community doing the work. See, because I want you to think that And I don't react or respond to, as Dre said, the little really irrelevant people online. Because if you can do that online, but you can't do positive work in the community, that means you have no power. You have nothing. All you have is the power to intimidate, the power to create mischief. And like you said, my son, lies, brother, I think we all know what it feels like to be lied on, brother. It's not a good thing, especially when they start to exaggerate and add so many things that are so unreal that is way out of our character. But the beauty of that is our work speaks for itself to where the people won't even believe that nonsense. They won't even believe it because they say, nah, Jay don't do that. I saw what Jay did over here. Nah, Dre don't do that. I saw what he did over here. Nah, my son don't do that. Clearly, he was over here doing the opposite of what they talking. Nah, Rizza don't, nah. See, so you let the work speak for itself, because this whole being reactive, brother, the real enemy you don't even see the real enemy. That's the crazy part about it. They don't advertise directly who they are. They operate in the shadows. You don't see them, but they control you and they control me through the thing that they instilled in us and in all of our people, which is, again, fear and confusion. And they keep it and they allow us to go back and forth to fight one another so that we never focus on who they are. YouTube was not created by Black people. Social media was not established by Black people. So if you understand that, and the CIA and FBI have over 31,000 accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, then you should understand what you're dealing with here. It's psychological warfare. When we understand that part, then we have to take back our psychology. Don't trip out on people who just comment and saying whatever. People who lie on Brother Rizza. I done heard so many lies about me, bro. It's insane. People in the hood I grew up with. Man, I heard some dude said you this. Some dude said you grew up in I think Pittsburgh. Some dude said I done heard, and people in real life was like, who these niggas? Online, like, who are these? I'm like, I don't know and I don't care. I know who the real enemy is. And Farrakhan taught us to go after the real enemy, but first kill the enemy of self. That racist white man of self that wants to kill his brother, that wants to rape his own sister, that sells his children. I got to kill that one here first. And then I can deal with the one on the outside. You see, so it's psychological warfare, brothers.
No, I want to bring 2 points home for us. So for our youth watching this, one I want to say, I think it's for all the men. King Gray, you hit it. That's why I love how you talk so direct. It's emotionalism. Honestly, as men, we tend to try to pride ourselves on not being so emotional. So it's like, if some person who you don't even know in this little circle on the gram can say something to you, that could be a 10-year-old kid in Nebraska, it could be a fake person with a account, it could be a real person.
Man.
But if that person got enough power to be home or chilling in a little dorky little whatever they doing, it could trigger your emotion. You're not really acting as no god, as no boss, as no king. Imagine a king, a real king in real life, getting all up in uproar because of what a random said. And so I always challenge myself as I see things. And it's hard because we get caught in the emotionalism of the attack on my character, attack on my integrity. They're calling me this, they're calling me that. That's not really who I am, right? And I just think that it's a real challenge for all of us. I think that the moral of the story is 2 parts. One, for our youth, for long, productive lives. Jay-Z said it one time. I was at Vegas when he opened the 40/40 Club in Vegas during New Year's. Hov said, as long as you got your freedom and you got your health, you always can get a bag again. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing. But essentially, it's like, for my young kings, you could react on some dumb shit that felt so emotionally like you gotta do it. But is it worth 13 years of your life, though? Because them years go by slow, and them days go by slow, and them letters fade out, and them calls fade out, and that commissary gets less and less. It's like, so I always, even when I was in the streets, for 10 years I was in the streets, I stayed away on my distance from a lot of violent activity and things like that because it mathematically didn't make sense. Like, okay, my boys want to run to somebody's crib to maybe get 10 racks. We're going to split it up between 3 of us, 3,300 apiece, but that's 7-year bid minimum. I'm not going to risk 7 years to get $3,000. Like, bro, I'll go get a job first. So whenever I even committed crimes, they had to be big crimes. I'm not going to risk my freedom. So if we're going to risk our freedoms to our young kings out there who are willing to risk your livelihood, your life, bro, like, You could fight somebody. I know somebody that fought somebody, knocked them out, they hit their head on the curb. He did 7.5 years of manslaughter because the dude hit his head on the curb and died off a reaction of some dumb shit. So it's like, if you value who you think you could be in the future, you think like most black men, if they're rich, poor, whatever, they got that I'm that Negro mentality, right? That I'm that Negro bravado. So that's my challenge myself. If you really that Negro, if you really that king, if you really that guy, right? You think you the baddest, flyest guy, whether you got the clothes now or not. In your head, you think you the next Bambino, Ho, Big Meech, whomever, like whoever your icon is. You feel you that. If you really feel you that, then don't do some dumb shit, emotional shit, to throw it all away so you can actually walk into being that guy you say you believe you being. But you can't be that guy if you dead or in prison, unless that's your idol, to be in prison and be a has-been story. So I think that the emotionalism, we got to rid ourselves of that and really pride ourselves on men on the fact. And then the other piece I just want to say is, on that mastermind piece Dre said, is like, damn, if our enemy, which we know they are watching us, if they could see the quote unquote leaders of our community get riled up over little dumb shit, damn, they know they already won. Like if they know that that's our Achilles heel and we can get riled up over that, like that's like, I mean, it is attack. It's a psychological attack. But if that is what really, oh man, all we gotta do is say Jay Morrison is scam. And we get 10 accounts and say Jay Morrison is scam, and Jay Morrison will get all unfocused and all off his Dean and all of his rocker. Oh man, that's easy. That's easy work for Jay Morrison. One of the brightest minds of the community. All we need is 10 accounts. All we need is 10 accounts from one of the brightest minds of the community off his track. Man, we gotta be stronger and more masterminds than their mastermind.
You know what's crazy about what you just said? You know, my boy Sean King, right? So I was looking at Sean King's page a few days ago, and he said that he's done the research where it's proven that they have, that the government, or I forgot, I don't want to quote it wrong, but there are at least a bunch of accounts on here that are systematically trying to destroy him. Like they traced him back. He has it on.
Of course.
He said it's proven. Like he's done the research, and they came back and said they are accounts and certain entities that are strictly trying to defame him and destroy him on purpose. And he has the process that he has all the information to prove it. And I'm like, that it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense as we continue to grow. Like I've watched, like you said, how they shadowing your page and they're not allowing the users and followers to grow. They stop your lives and all these things. Yes, and these things are strategic, man. And we have to be very knowledgeable of these things. And one thing we have to do, and we have to really be intentional about creating our own media, like creating these own spaces for us, something that we control. Because even when you look at this situation with this pandemic, whatever you think about it or don't think about it, they have been able to completely control us through this. They have controlled us.
That's right.
They've traumatized us. This right here has put people who are separating from the government, people who are aligning each other and say, yo, we doing all these things, have now people are individualized. Social distancing is a thing right now. People who you were seeing every day, you no longer even speaking to. You having disagreements because they're telling you to think this way and you saying think that way, and you saying I don't believe this and we are so divided in this, even in this time, even in the way, the strategy in which we should go about moving forward in this. So this is another strategy that they've used to divide us. Social distancing is not something that was for us, is not in our best interest, because most of us, especially us, we were unified. We were coming together in large. We were bringing everybody to spaces, you know, where we were all congregating and coming up with ideas, and we was moving forward. So this doesn't benefit us. You know what I'm saying? It benefits them because now we have to seek them to figure out when is it okay for us to go back and try to relive some level of normalcy. So we have to understand how strategic our enemy is, man, and even look for the things that you don't want to see, the things that you don't want to believe. You have to realize that the shit that you don't want to believe is what they're doing. The shit that you saying is what they're doing. They have said, like when they have these think tanks, they've said that how do we control everybody? How do we constantly keep control over the minds? How do we keep them separated? I went to Palestine, and one of the brothers he was part of the army that was that went and got the Palestinians out. He was a part of the Jewish, one of the colonizers. He was part of their army. And he did, we went to, I forgot exactly the place, but it's all segregated. They got all the gates and everything. And on the hill, you see where the Palestinians live. They got them all on top of each other, building houses where they can get, they come there with like every week with a little bit of water, all type of things. And he was explaining how their strategy was every time the Palestinians would get quiet and calm and they would just relax and they get settled in, they would throw gas over there. They would shoot up things because they did not want them to get comfortable and start to congregate and start to think and start to strategize. When they thought they were getting too comfortable and they felt like they were too united, they did things strategically to break that up, to keep them in confusion, to separate them. So this is a strategy. This is not no shit that, oh my God, no, this is a strategy. They need us to rely on the government. They need us to feel like you can't trust me because I might have this and I might affect you. We need to stay away from each other. Let me figure out what the government says and when they want us to go back and what they say we should do. They need us to do that in order to maintain control. So it's what we're doing right now, even despite of that, is very important, man. And we have to, because our people are conditioned to believe whatever they say. You listen to me. They have made 5 different claims. Fauci and these people have said 10 different things. And nobody questions them. But you say something against them, they say, yo, I can't believe that don't listen to him. He ain't no professional. That told you 1 million people was going to die in 2 weeks. The professional told you 214,000. Then he said, oh, I don't know. Then it's a new model. The professional, the person who go to school and tell you all this shit, they lie to you every day. You never question them. You wait for them to come on CNN. You scared to death on your bed. But we tell you some shit that's of common sense. And we the biggest people in the world that don't listen to us. And this is what they've done to our people, man. I've realized, and it's not even bad people. It's some of the people that you would least expect that have been brainwashed by this type of shit, man.
That's
so
right.
Leadership is very hard. It is very hard because everybody, what it takes to lead, to be called a fraud, to be called a scammer, to be called all these names, and amongst the people that you try to save, like I read a quote, I forgot exactly who it was. He said that the hardest thing about saving my people is I had to, with my right hand, I had to fend off the people that I was trying to save them against. With the left hand, I had to fend off them. So, you know what I'm saying? So we in some real times, man. It's gonna take what Dre said, we have to not be emotional. We have to identify the enemy. We have to retrain ourselves to what credibility looks like. We cannot allow ourselves to be rerouted. We can't deal with our emotions. We have to understand that our enemy is so strategic, man. He is so strategic. The things that we least think about, they think about they figured out a way to control us, man. When you think about Willie Lynch and all of these things, this is an enemy that has thought about hundreds and thousands of years in advance. When you listen to Bill Gates and them talking about, population control and in 10 years it's going, they don't know it's going to happen. They're making it happen. Like you said, Jay, he who creates, the pen that creates the pill. Like these things, this shit is really serious, man. So we have to,
let me say this one time. I want to make sure that these youngsters are getting some personal nuggets that they can apply to their lives. The issues it's inside of us first. It's an inside job, then the exterior stuff. It's an inside job we have to work on. So let me tell a little story. I like giving third-party stories of some real events. I used to do a lot of life coaching, and I had a client who was an entrepreneur. He had a wife and 3 kids. He was a philanderer, though. If you don't know, philanderer means a man that sleeps around and plays around his wife with other women. And he would call me this one time, and he said, Dre, I don't know why I keep doing this. I just don't know why I keep doing this. And I said to him, like I said to that other guy that called me on the phone, don't ever call my phone saying nothing like that to me. He was tripping. He was like, why are you saying that? I said, I want you to do something. I said, I want you to say something for me. I said, this is not about right and wrong right now, because I need to get you somewhere before we can even talk about right and wrong. I said, I want you to say, I did it because I wanted to do it. He said, I did it because I wanted to do it. I said, say it louder. He says, I did it because I wanted to do it. I said, say it louder. He said, I did it because I wanted to do it. I said, don't you feel the man coming out of you now? I said, listen, as long as you're in a space that you keep saying, I don't know why I keep doing this, you ain't got to be accountable for what you're doing. You could be in that space for a million years. I said, remember, we're not talking about right and wrong right now. But I got to first get you to the man first before we can even have a conversation about right and wrong. I said, so once you took accountability that I did it because I wanted to do it, now you've come back to manhood. Now you can ask yourself, now that you've come back to manhood, because not only now do you have the power to change it, now you can ask yourself, do I want to be that kind of person? Because as long as you're in the space, I don't know why I keep doing this. So I know a lot of us in our communities have used that, and that has kept us from manhood, from accountability, from feeling what a man feels like, which is why I told him to say it louder, right? So a lot of issues that be going on in our communities, when we have learned manipulation and being deceitful, we've only taken from our own personal manhood. You're not getting over on nobody because you lying. You're diminishing your own manhood. And because you don't know the value of manhood, you do this often. But if you knew the value of what it was to be a man, you would guard and protect that more than anything in your life. I have a lot of clients that come to me and they ask me, Dre, man, I want to be a man. I didn't have my dad. I want to be a man. And so I say to them, I say, listen, I'm going to ask you one question. I'm going to ask you something that have a one-word answer. What are you willing to give up and sacrifice to be a man? Oh, they say this, they say that, they say this, they say this, and they never get it. And I'd say, what are you willing to give up or sacrifice to be a man? And I tell them, if your answer is not everything, you don't know the value of manhood. If your answer is not everything, because in order for you to structure things underneath you, for you to have dominion of everything underneath you, you've got to be complete in your headship in your whole life. That's what I'm talking about. I want to inject some inside things, because if we can get to those inside things, then we can manifest what we have inside and control whatever's outside that's problematic to us. I've always said I would never send our people to war fractured by self-hate and the lack of manhood. So I just wanted to give you guys that out there, youngsters, to understand the moment you begin to excuse behavior is the moment you diminish manhood. And you've got to start valuing what that means to you. I was facing life sentence and stood because the value of my manhood was more important than anything. Because in American Pimp, I said, if they think that them bringing me to jail was going to strip me from being the man that I am, then they badly mistaken. I was willing to go all the way the distance. And I don't want no awards for that. I don't want no awards for that shit. I'm just explaining to you the passion of manhood that I've carried from since I was a child to this day. And I've utilized that in the value of who we are. Right now, you might think, a lot of you brothers out there, that you love yourself, but you do things to diminish your manhood every single day, and you don't even realize it. And then when you get a girlfriend and you show up one way, and then in 30 to 90 days, you begin to change who you said you are or who you was to the girl. And when the girl becomes disrespectful, you start wondering why she's disrespectful to you and not taking accountability. It is, do you presented something to her and then you start changing? And you gave her an excuse to be any kind of way towards you. And let me just say this, I'll let somebody else speak. A lot of dudes come to me and say, man, if my girl just would have did this, and this, I would have gave everything to her. That's the stupidest shit you could ever say to me. I said, what you're really saying to me, in order for you to be a man, you need her to be a woman.
Come on.
If she just would have did this, I would have did that. That's the weakest, stupidest shit you done said. In order for you to be a man, you're waiting for her to be a woman? Man, come on with that. Time to man up around here. It's time to get black manhood back.
That's right.
That's right.
I'll say. You go ahead, King.
You got it.
See, we some polite brothers. We'll be, no, you go. All right, so I'll say it this way, man. This is why the enemy, because of what Brother Dre just said, and because of how we are, this is why the enemy attacks masculinity. Because they can't have the general, Mysonne the general. They can't have Jay Morrison the king. They can't have not just gorgeous Dre, but politically active Dre, accountable Dre, the strong, inspirational Dre. They effective Dre. They can't have Rizza Islam, the soldier, follower of Farrakhan, a fearless youth leader, whatever people want to call it. They can't have none of this because you inspire others. A lion can only realize that they are a lion when they hear the roar of another lion. I don't know who I am until I see the example of it at its highest form. I'm telling you, when I see how this enemy attacks masculinity, and they came at us now and they say it's toxic masculinity to say what Dre just said. Be a man. Oh, that's toxic. Oh, you can't be a man until a woman be a woman, nigga, you crazy. That's toxic. No, that's called being a real man. That's survival. That's sense. It's not common as it used to be. It's common among real men. And that's something that helped us. That helped me to get through the situations that I got through. That helped me to be raised in a hostile environment. You're in a hostile environment. You're not about to get, pats on the back and, well, here, I'll help you with this. No, look. You better learn how to survive out here. Plain and simple. But that manhood and that knowing how to stand up and take charge and to meet and overcome all obstacles, that's basic in our natural state. How we are right here, that's natural to us. But it's the environment and the system that has helped to break us down piece by piece and strip us of that. And what we're doing now, as Dre is saying, we're now putting that back together. So the young brothers who are in this generation, as he said, one, you don't have to be hard, pump your chest up. If it's already out there, it's already out there. You ain't got to add nothing to it. It is what it is, right? You don't have to do nothing to prove a point to people who don't need to have a point. Prove it to. No, your work will speak for itself. And not only that, having your manhood intact means you are able to stand up, take responsibility, handle business when nobody else is looking. You're the same person online as you are offline. I can honestly say that for myself. I'm the same brother in real life as I am on camera. When you can say that, you are a man. For real. Like, no. He ain't switching up. He ain't putting on the bow tie, oh, smile, and then go over here and start slanging on the corner. No. Slinging papers and maybe bean pies. And that has a purpose, right? So, but the manhood training is something that was removed thoroughly, brothers, because they cannot have us leading into the next generation. The system is very, very powerful, intelligent, but afraid. That's the Achilles heel of the system, Dre, is that they are afraid that one day we will step into power and that we will do to them what they did to us, when that's not even our heart. That's not our mentality. That's not how we are as a people. We're not about to all come together and just go out and kill a whole group of people. That's not how we operate. We just want to be left alone so that we can live and establish our own everything and survive and take our rightful place among those within civilized society. We can live among everybody. We just don't want to live below everybody no more. That's the difference. I don't mind living among you, but I have to have respect. You need to give me my respect. Matter of fact, no, I'm going to demand it by what? Taking responsibility for my woman, taking responsibility for my children. I'm not going to sell drugs to them. Matter of fact, I'm not going to call her a female dog in the raps no more. I'm not going to put my hands on this brother over here just because he got a red rag and I got a blue one. I'm not going to just attack a Mexican because I heard some stuff about him. I'm not going to jump on my brother because I heard accusations about him from some other brother who may be jealous of me. No. leading by example and really taking charge. That's manhood. When it comes to us who are teenagers, those of us in our 20s, those of us in our 30s and above, that's where it has to go. Because as Dre was saying, the back and forth and the psychological warfare and the emotional warfare pulling at your strings are all the ways that they are able to manipulate us. We got to come back to how we are by nature, brothers. And the beauty is it's working. That's why you see brothers like this on a panel like this as examples. And we do this all the time. We did another panel, me, Jay Morrison, and Mysonne a couple of days ago. Before that, another one with me and Mysonne. And me and Dre, then Jay Morrison and Dre, then Mysonne and Dre. We're going to keep recycling this until we continue to duplicate more of ourselves in the young brothers and the young sisters. We got to keep it going because the work does not stop. And last thing I'm saying is Minister Farrakhan is 85. He said he's going to die on his post. He said, I'm going to die on my post. Everybody else is retiring at 60. And he like, I'm 85. What the hell you doing retiring? Is the job done? Then no. Then I'm like, if he 85 and he's still roaring and taking his enemy down, going straight to the jugular with it, I'm like, I just turned 30. What do I look like? He's 50 years in advance. I'm like, come on, man. Like I look like a straight up punk.
You're 60 in you. You got 60 in you, baby. Let's go.
Hey, come on, man. Come on. At least, right? So that's my point, man. We have to lead with love, like you said, humility, but also strength. Ain't no such thing as being a punk who's humble. I don't mean you a punk. It just means you know your imperfections and you're working on them, and you're not putting up a front like you're better than your people. But you have to have strength so that you can be humble, meaning bow down and bend down beneath the people and lift them up. That's how we have to operate. And that's why I continue to love panels and discussions like this, man, because the young brothers in the hood are watching, they listening. They listening, and the sisters too, and they like, all right, I just want to see if it's some real brothers out here doing something for us and not being ego tripping and trying to say, well, I do this better. Don't listen to my son. That nigga, I heard he was doing this over here. You know, or Jay, I heard he was scamming people. Or Dre, I heard Dre was running. He's still pimping. You know, like you get this the kind of stuff you will hear. You know, so no, man, I that's why I love this, man. And we got to keep doing it.
Yeah, the first thing that pops in my head, though, I want to kind of define masculinity for our young kings watching this. Responsibility, accountability, and authenticity, right? That's like one of the biggest things I look at when I think about a man. So that responsibility and accountability kind of come together. So I feel like this, two examples. When this COVID-19 happened, as an entrepreneur, I'm like, damn, I got all these businesses. I got 100 rental units. I got a 30,000 square foot building we doing. I got 30 staff members, and I got a family, right? I got 2 daughters and a wife. And I'm like, no matter what happened with this financial pandemic, this crisis, all that, my family got to eat, and my staff got to be good, and my partners got to be good. So again, I immediately took accountability for the situation, no matter what the challenge was. It wasn't like, oh, we in a crisis, so baby, guess what? We can't eat, rent can't get paid, mortgage can't get paid, cars can't get, you're right? It's like taking self-accountability is the first accountability, right? As King Dre was saying, like for all my young kings, my old kings, whoever is watching this, and even our queens, this is for any human being. It's self-accountability. The moment you go talk about, listen, I done been physically abused, emotionally abused. I lived in shelters. I've been homeless. I'm a 3-time felon. I've been bankrupt. I've been divorced. I've been a teenage dad. This is my real life. What I've excelled in life is because despite all those challenges, what I always realized is that the outcome of my life still was on me. Even though I can make some legitimate excuses to why my shit should turn out fucked up and not as glorious as it can, or not to be comfortable, right? We use excuses as our past to not do the work. If you have a harder life, if you have a harder upbringing, if you have a harder challenge, you come home from prison, that just means you got more work to do to accomplish what you want to accomplish. It don't mean that's your get out of jail card, or your G card, or your pass card to not be successful, or to not have a strong foundation, or to not take care of your kids. Like, no matter what, I've been broke, bankrupt, had $40 to my name, still driving, borrowing money for gas to drive from New Jersey to Virginia to see my daughter. I just couldn't afford a hotel. I had to sleep in a car. But that doesn't mean my responsibility passes by just because of circumstance. We use circumstance as our get out of accountability card. Yo, accountability goes all the way, right? So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I want to say is intentionality in that, right? So when it comes to accountability and that responsibility, there has to be a level of intentionality that you accept responsibility for the outcome of your own life. No matter if the system dogged you, cops illegally searched you, whatever, mom was on crack, bro, okay, we all got a story. At the end of the day, are you going to end up a failure in life, or are you going to end up successful in life, or somewhere comfortable in between? That's it. You control your outcome based on the decisions that you make, and you can't change. Life will always throw us curveballs, but in intentionality, I want to say this quick story on intentionality and accountability. My grandmother who raised me, I stayed in my grandma's house most of my life. She the one that first took me to the Baptist conventions around the country, took me to Jamaica for youth ministry. I was always in church with her. My grandmother went and bought me my first Jordans, all of that, right? My grandma, she helped me be who Jay Morrison is because my mom was on drugs. My mom was on her single, teenage mom shit, all of that. So my gram took me in. My gram's 81 years old. She's turned 81 years old. She's had dementia for the last 4 to 5 years, right? So she don't remember everything well. She don't, it's not the same Gram who held it down, had a 401k, you know what I mean? It was Gram was doing her thing, right? Had the crib, all of that. So my family was not taking care of my Gram to the level that I know she should be taken care of based on who I know my grandma to be and how she lived. They had her living in a 1-bedroom with 3 people. They had her taking advantage of her pension check, social security check, all of that. And I'm watching it from Atlanta, Graham in Jersey. I'm like, yo, I can't have, this is accountability. This is responsibility. As a man in my family, and I got 2 daughters, I got a wife, but I see my Graham not being held down right. Bro, let me tell you what I did. I tried to talk to my aunt about it. I got my Graham print out all her expenses and her pensions and security. I tried to do it that way, diplomatic, political. They still was playing games. Yo, I set it up with my mom who lived in North Carolina. Mom, you got space for Graham? My mom got 2 extra bedrooms? Cool. I flew to New Jersey. I told my aunt I'm taking Graham to lunch. I always visit my Graham once a month, right? I took my Graham to lunch. My aunt dropped her off. Bro, I drove right to Newark Airport. We out. I took my Graham, who had dementia, who they had her living in a jacked up crib in a bad situation. They had car insurance under her name. They took out loans under my Graham name. They dogging her. This man shit I'm talking about though. Now, I got uncles, I got aunts, I got mad cousins. But I'm a man. You're not going to have my Graham living like that on my watch. I take accountability for my watch. My wife's on my watch. My daughters are on my watch. My community is on my watch.
That's right.
My Graham is on my watch. So we went to lunch, bro. I dipped right to Newark Airport, bro. Got her flight. We out. Took my Graham to North Carolina to my mom. Gave my mom a G. Here, let me know if you need anything else. Got her some clothes. Stayed the night. Got her set up some new doctors, all of that. And my Graham is now living in the glory she should be living in her golden age, as opposed to being used for her check in a bad environment. So I'm just saying that to say, same as when I got locked up in New York. When I got locked up in New York, facing 3 years of life, I'm in the pen, and the detective, I had a co-defendant. He was my driver. My co-defendant was driving to Newburgh, New York from Baltimore. He was on some college shit. I asked him to take me to Harlem to get my work on his way to Newburgh. I just wanted a free ride. When we got locked up from a legal search and seizure by the police, he's sitting in the cell. I didn't even give him a chance to have to make a decision to tell him me or not. I knew as a man, it was my trip. It was my product. It was my work. I was going to Nebraska to go rack up. He wasn't seeing none of my profits. So I told the detective, I said, look, the work, that was mine. He ain't have nothing to do with it. He can go. They let him go that night. I'd have to drag him through the system, being a man that's accountable for his own responsibilities. I knew that was my product. That was my work. We ain't got to play these games. I'm accountable for mine. So I want to say in all those stories and scenarios, my point is a real man is hard because sometimes life throw you some shit and you got life in prison in front of you. You got 3 years of life in front of you. You got all kind of COVID in front of you, all this shit. But at the same day, you can't dilute your accountability and your responsibility as a man because of circumstance. A real man takes accountability for the wins, for the losses, for the failures, and that's a real man. Someone could be accountable and keeps integrity and keeps that accountability intact despite the altering of circumstance. Like circumstance can't break you when you're walking in your real man shit. And we bring that level of accountability, you'll then say, oh shit, I got a 6-month-old daughter. I can't take that ride with y'all. I got a 6-month-old daughter. I mean, homeboy disrespecting me, but I can't shoot homeboy because my daughter deserves better. I'm taking accountability for making sure I'm here for her. We always go hustle in the street to say I'm doing it to feed my family. Well, who the hell feeds your family when you're doing 7 to 10?
Amen.
You hustle to feed them, but who feed them when you're gone?
That's right.
They figure it out then.
That's right.
So that's my 2 cents on being a man.
So listen, brothers, I have to promptly get off this beautiful Zoom call at 8 because I start my rap battle thing that I do on YouTube. I mean on Instagram. Yeah, I need to tune this.
I want to see that. I want to see that.
I got it because I bring up a lot of these young boys who spit on there and they come there. We got some dope artists that come. But before I leave, I just want to veggie back off of what you just said. Beloved.
Say the right thing.
To my sister Pepper Kids who always gives us that. But self accountability versus validation, and that's what we're dealing with in our communities, man. A lot of our brothers don't want to be. They don't want to be accountable to themselves, but they worry about what someone else thinks about them. See, when you're accountable to yourself, because you only know you. You understand what I'm saying? You know what you're capable of. You know who you are in the dark. You know when no one else is there who you are. So when you start to hold yourself accountable way more than you care about what someone else thinks about you, then that's when you enter into real manhood. Because when you're worried about somebody else's validation, then your reputation matters more to you about what somebody else thinks rather than what you know. And that's what a lot of us, especially in our younger ages, that's what we fall victim to. You know, like you said, the dude said, oh, they clowning you because he called you a pussy. And you, before he called you a pussy, you knew you wasn't a pussy. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to go tell, you didn't have to even answer that question. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to do anything because when you holding yourself accountable, then you like, did he say anything of validity? Oh, I don't even have to answer to that because, you know, I'm definitely not a pussy. You didn't even have to, but you felt to save faith and be validated amongst those people who, rather you went to the box or anything, was going to still live their life. You felt like you had to do something to get some level of validation. And that's what we have to do. We have to tell our young brothers and sisters that your self-accountability, your self-integrity is way bigger than your validation by people who have no value in your life. Most of the people that you're trying to validate yourself with have no value. They can't add anything to your life. You probably will never see them again. If you arguing and yo, don't disrespect me in front of people, these people I'll never see again. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in prison, I'm like, most of these people I would never talk to in the street. No disrespect, but I would never speak to you in the street. We don't have any commonalities. We don't have anything. So why do I care how you visualize me? As long as you don't do something to hurt me or hurt my family or stop me from breathing or stop my life, your understanding of who I am, your vision of who I am has no validity to me. And when I'm walking and I'm dealing with my own self-accountability and my self-confidence, and I'm moving in a manner that I am comfortable with, when I'm living according to my moral compass, when I'm never going outside my own moral compass, when I've created this moral compass that is entrenched in manhood, then I will move as such. So that's what I say to our young brothers and even our sisters. When you move in womanhood, you don't need somebody to validate your womanhood. You don't need a man to validate whether you're a woman. You don't need the internet to validate you're a woman. You don't need the vision of what they try to tell you beauty is to validate who you are. It's about your own self-accountability. If you feel beautiful, if you feel like a woman, if you're moving in strength, if you know somebody say, oh, you doing that for a man? Oh no, you want your king to feel like a king, just like a king wants his queen to feel like a queen. So when we deal with those issues, when we start to deal with that self-accountability and eliminate the validation, then we're gonna move on our natural accord. And with that said, brothers, I love y'all. This is another
love you all.
Love as well, bro.
Death, man.
Love you guys. Thank you.
I appreciate
we'll do it again.
Yes, sir. Always.
All right, family. You already know. Peace.
You want to give your Instagrams out?
Yeah, my Instagram is at Mysonne, MYSONNENY General, GENERAL. Follow me. Come to there right now. We're going right there live. Spit some bomb.
I'm gonna be there.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
My Instagram is at real REAL gorgeous GORGEOUS Dre DRE at real gorgeous Dre. Instagram.
And my Instagram is @_Rizza Islam, RIZZA, last name Islam. Also on YouTube, Rizza Islam. Twitter @Islam Rizza. Facebook, Rizza Islam -humanitarian. Make sure you pick up your copy of Message to the Millennials directly for this generation, as our brother Dre made it a very good point. We got to talk to our generation, but really provide the solutions for this generation.
Yo, absolutely, guys. You can follow me on all platforms at Mr. Jay Morrison. That's on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram. There are 1,000 YouTube videos, many financial lectures on real estate, business, credit, buying your first home, how to boost your credit. And we're also have a few days left for the Tulsa Real Estate Fund last final capital raise, which is on Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, 5/5 at midnight. Your last chance to be an owner in our company. It means you're an owner in our company, you're an owner in our multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio, owner in apartment complexes, owner in the good work we do in the community. We funded several million to Black developers around the country, created nearly 100 jobs, have built a $12.8 million projected stabilized value of real estate assets, as well as we united nearly 13,000 partners from 22 countries to raise over $12 million in the last 2 years. The largest active group economics, equitable group economics in our community. We want you to be a part of that company, that history. So we invite you guys to go to TulsaRealEstateFund.com or investwithtreff.com. And again, continue to follow brother, the good brother King Dre, King Rizza, King Mysonne. I've met all of them. Not that y'all don't need my validation or cosign, but I've met all these kings, man, and they kings for real. It ain't that
Legitimate
weird
brothers.
It ain't no Instagram social energy. These brothers that's fighting for us and willing to give it all up for us. So I salute y'all. I love y'all. I'm always here for y'all. Whatever I can do to serve, I'm here. Let's continue to build.
All right. I'll let you guys. Love you.
Appreciate your family. Love you as well.
Peace.
Peace.